Welcome to American Speech Sounds.
Okay, so today I'm going to explain how to use the American SpeechSounds software. So go ahead and click on the icon and you'll go to the first screen of the American SpeechSounds software.
Welcome to American Speech Sounds.
And you'll hear a welcome message. But next you're going to want to choose your first language from the drop-down menu. If it doesn't have your first language, you'll just have to choose all languages. But for most of you, you'll find your language listed there. For example, if you're a French speaker, you can click French speakers. Or if you speak Vietnamese as your first language, scroll down and click on Vietnamese speakers. Or let's say your first language is Russian, so click on Russian speakers. And that way the language software can focus on some of the common mistakes depending on what your first language is. So let's choose Russian speakers, for example. And then you can choose to have the phonetic alphabet on or off. I would recommend to go ahead and turn the IPA, International Phonetic Alphabet, on, because this is very similar to the Well Said book that we use in Clarity of Speech. Now, there are 4 options to choose from. You can click Speech Sounds, Listen and Choose, Words, or Sentences, and you'll see the buttons there. Let's start with Speech Sounds. Go ahead and click there.
Click on Play All to hear without recording. Click on Play Record to record.
And as the software instructs you, you can choose to just play all and just listen, and then you can click on each vowel or each consonant. Or you can choose play and record, and that way you can record your own voice next to or side by side with the instructors on this software. So let's go ahead and listen once through with the ah sound.
Awe, audit, solid, law. The author forgot to pause as he talked.
And I would recommend listening a few times to each of these, and even listen and record and hear your own voice and compare it with the instructors on this software. Okay, next I want to show you the Listen and Choose button. So if we click there, you'll see it's kind of like an activity or a game.
Click on a sound or exercise.
Now you'll see the same sounds that we've been going over. So for the first Lab 1, you'll just go through the vowel sounds.
Choose the one you hear by clicking on its red button. Walk. That's right.
Jab, job, jab, job, jab.
Click to go on.
And you'll need to go through 20 questions, at least with one sound, and get at least 95% for your score for at least one sound. And then you'll want to take a picture, take a screenshot, or take a literal picture using your phone of the computer to show that you have done at least one each time you go to the lab. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you is that sometimes, especially with the Listen and Choose, there will be one option that looks not even like English. It's because it's in the International Phonetic Alphabet. If you've chosen from the drop-down menu to use the International Phonetic Alphabet, which I recommend, and you can see that in the Listen and Choose for the example volunteer. And you'll hear the difference between volunteer and volunteer, which is a common sound that Russian speakers make, and Russian speakers tend to confuse volunteer and volunteer.
Volunteer.
But what you can do is just listen to the different sounds. Don't worry about the words or the strange symbols on the screen. Just listen to the different sounds. Then you can click replay, and then you can choose the sound that you heard.
Volunteer, 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 volunteer.
Okay.
Remember, when you get to the end of Listen and Choose and you've scored at least 95%, go ahead and take a picture or take a screenshot, and you can send that to me. You could print it if you want, or you could just email it to me to show that you've actually completed at least one of these sounds and that you really understand it. So that means you got at least 95%, hopefully 100%. Okay, the next button that we'll look at is where it says words, and this really is very similar to the other activities. You'll just choose the vowel sound, or later we'll do the consonant sounds, or even the exercises, and you'll just listen and practice, or you can record yourself after you listen, then you can record yourself, and you can compare your speaking with the instructor, the native speaker.
Volunteer. Volunteer for the project.
Okay, the last button here is sentences, and again it's very similar, but this time you're speaking in whole sentences.
Audit. Cost. John. Dollars. A tax audit cost John more than $100.
Under the sentences buttons, there's also some different exercises. So in the sentences, it has the alphabet letters, and it also has some academic word lists. So those are some extra practice, some extra activities that will be very good practice for you. Remember, each lab, you'll have to spend at least 1 hour completing the lab. And maybe you're very quick, maybe you already understand some of these sounds. Well, then go on to some of these more difficult exercises. Okay, so just as a quick recap, remember you have to go to the lab in Wichita Hall in order to complete the assignments in the American SpeechSounds software. And you'll need to bring that paper so that the lab instructors can sign that you were there for 1 hour and that you practice this American SpeechSounds software. The last thing you need to remember is to do at least one listen and choose activity with over 95%, so 95 to 100% completion. So that might take a few times to practice, and then take a picture of that and send it to me along with the paper copy of your signed lab activity form. As always, you can email me with any questions, and I will see you in class.
Welcome to American Speech Sounds.